Imagine this. Tomorrow morning, every major truck in the country stops moving at once. Not a strike, not a highway pileup, just silence. No rig pulls out of the warehouse. None arrives at the store. None hauls fuel to a gas station, parts to a factory, food to a diner. And almost nothing happens. Factories keep running. Stores stay open. Shelves are full. People calmly drive to work. Because the world doesn't collapse instantly, it collapses on a delay. And behind that deceptive calm sits a system almost nobody thinks about until it stops. That's today's story. The first few hours pass almost unnoticed. Factory shifts start as usual. Cashiers open their registers. Cars fill up where tanks are still full from last week. Everything looks normal. Because shortages don't hit the moment things stop, they hit later. The modern economy isn't built on stockpiles. It's built on motion. Warehouses used to hold goods for months just in case. Today, that's considered a luxury nobody can afford. Storage costs money, ties up capital, eats floor space. So most industries run on a just-in-time model. Cargo arrives exactly when it's needed, not a day earlier. It saves companies billions, and it makes the entire chain remarkably fragile. One link stops, and the rhythm breaks almost immediately. By the evening of day one, perishables start running out. Milk, bread, greens, chilled meat aren't stored for weeks. They move across the country daily in refrigerated trucks built to restock every 12 to 24 hours. Without new deliveries, these are the first shelves to go bare. On day two, the problem gets more visible and more varied. Pharmacies run short on specific drugs, the ones usually delivered in small batches. Auto shops run out of parts that were supposed to arrive that morning. Construction sites stall waiting on concrete and rebar. Restaurants scramble to change menus because the ingredients simply aren't in the fridge. But the most interesting part isn't where goods physically don't exist. The real problem runs deeper. What's sitting in a warehouse outside town isn't the same as what's available to people here and now. Between producer and consumer stands a bridge, and that bridge is made of trucks. By day three, fuel starts to suffer, and with it, everything else. Gas stations hold a limited supply of gasoline and diesel, constantly topped up by tanker trucks. Without new deliveries, stations shut down one after another. And without fuel, almost everything still trying to run by hand grinds to a halt. Deliveries, utility crews, generators, emergency vehicles. The collapse doesn't happen because resources vanish. It happens because the link between producers and the people who need things gets severed. Grain sits in the silo. Medicine sits in the regional warehouse. Fuel sits in the tank farm.
But without movement, all of it stays out of reach. By the end of the first week, industries most people never associate with trucking start to feel it. Car plants run on the same just-in-time logic as supermarkets. Parts arrive in batches sized for a few hours of assembly line, not weeks ahead. One missing part, a sensor, a belt, a control module, and the whole line stops, even if 99% of everything else is in place. Agriculture suffers too, even though the harvest itself isn't going anywhere. Farmers need to move what they've picked, bring in feed, deliver fertilizer and fuel for equipment. Produce starts rotting right where it grew, not because there's too little of it, but because there's no way and nothing to move it with. Hospitals fall into a similar trap. Supplies, reagents, certain medications arrive in regular, modest shipments, just enough for the next few days. The system is built for constant restocking, not long-term reserves, since many materials have short shelf lives. Online retailers feel it early too, even if it's not obvious at first. An online order looks like a single click, but behind that click sits a whole chain: distribution center, sorting hub, delivery van. Stop one link in the middle and a package already marked in transit just freezes somewhere along the way because physically there's no one left to deliver it. Ports, meanwhile, become a bottleneck. Container ships keep arriving on schedule, but the containers unloaded from them have nowhere to go. Docks aren't elastic, and there's nothing to haul the cargo onward. Within days, the port simply can't accept new ships, not because shipping volume dropped, but because the last link on land stopped working. To understand why the truck ended up in this position, it helps to look back. 200 years ago, goods moved by horse, slow, small loads, short distances. Then came railroads, fast, powerful, able to pull thousands of tons between cities. But trains have a built-in limit: tracks. A train can't pull into a farmer's yard, can't pull up to a supermarket's doors, can't stop at a construction site downtown. The real turning point came with the internal combustion engine. Trucks didn't need rails. A road was enough. As highways developed, trucks gained something trains never had: last-mile flexibility. Pick up cargo at the factory gate, deliver it straight to the store's door. No stops in between. The next leap was containerization. Standardized steel containers finally linked ships, trains, and trucks into one system. The same container could come off a ship's deck, go onto a rail car, then onto a trailer, never opened along the way. That's how the global logistics we know today was born. The truck became the chain's final and most important link, the one connecting massive, impersonal systems to ordinary human life. A modern heavy truck is far more than just a big vehicle. It's the result of decades of engineering, all aimed at one goal: moving enormous weight safely, economically, over long distances. Take the weight of the cargo. A single trailer carries tens of tons, enough to crush a road if it all pressed down at one point. So the load gets spread across multiple axles. The more of them, the more evenly the weight distributes across the pavement. The diesel engine isn't an arbitrary choice. It runs for long hours under heavy load and burns fuel more efficiently than a gasoline engine of the same size. For a vehicle that might spend 14 hours straight on the road, that's not a minor detail. It's an economic necessity. Brakes work differently than in a passenger car. Heavy cargo demands far more stopping force, so trucks use powerful air brake systems capable of halting tens of tons of mass, even on a long downhill grade. And the trailer itself is its own field of engineering. The body changes with the job: a reefer for food, a tanker for fuel, a flatbed for building materials, a dry van for retail goods. One tractor unit serves dozens of different industries simply by swapping out what it pulls. That versatility makes it more flexible than rail, for all of rail's power and scale. That's why the same driver might haul gravel to a construction site on Monday, metal to a factory on Wednesday, and a shipment of appliances to a distribution center by Friday, just by switching trailers. No other mode of transport can pivot between such different jobs that fast. But behind any single truck lies something far bigger than one route from point A to point B. A simple chain. A factory makes a product. It travels to a warehouse. From the warehouse to a distribution center. From there to a specific store. And only then to the customer, who picks it off the shelf without a second thought about the distance it traveled. Sometimes the path is longer.
Cargo arrives by sea at a port. A truck hauls it to a warehouse. There it's transferred to another truck. A different route, a different driver, a different schedule. Only then does it reach a shelf thousands of miles from the port. Every link is synchronized with the others almost surgically. Schedules, routes, loading windows, all calculated so the goods land exactly where they're needed, exactly when they're needed. Not an hour early, there's nowhere to store it. Not a day late, the next link in the chain is already waiting on that shipment for its own work. That's the hidden machine. Not a single truck, not even a single company. Thousands of coordinated, almost invisible movements happening every day across the entire country. No announcements, no thanks, no audience. It's also telling how this machine handles disruptions. One late truck, logistics teams cover with a backup route or a nearby warehouse. 2 or 3 disruptions in a row eat into the small safety stockpiles that do exist for exactly this reason. But when the entire flow stops at once, there's nothing left to compensate with, because the backup mechanisms depend on the very same transport. So a real breakdown doesn't look like a snapped wire. It looks like a rising wave. First, the time-sensitive goods disappear. Then, the things dependent on long chains with many participants. And only last, the basic resources that can be stored for months. Different industries feel the hit at different times. But sooner or later, a disruption in one spreads to the rest, simply because the economy is connected horizontally, not divided into sealed compartments. So what would actually happen if every truck stopped tomorrow? It's not the instant, dramatic collapse movies love to show. The first few hours barely change anything on the surface. The danger builds gradually. The links between production and consumption tear one after another, layer by layer. First, perishables, then fuel, then medicine, building materials, spare parts, raw materials for new goods. Every day without movement adds one more break on top of the last. And that's the real lesson here. We almost never notice infrastructure while it's working. Electricity, water, roads. We only remember them the moment they suddenly disappear. Trucks stay invisible precisely because they don't fail. Every night, while the city sleeps, thousands of vehicles move what will show up on shelves, in gas tanks, on cafe tables, in hospital fridges by morning. It happens so smoothly that it fades into the background, the kind of thing you never think about because it always just works. Behind that quiet background sits one of the most complex and, at the same time, fragile systems in the modern world. A system that carries our entire daily life, silently, without stopping, every day, whether we notice it or not. If you're into uncovering the hidden systems that run our everyday lives, hit like and subscribe to Hidden Systems. Here, we show you what usually stays invisible.